Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Welcome back to another SLA video. Folks, we have ourselves a little bit of a dilemma I want to discuss here. I'm going through expert mode right now, just on auto mode while I talk, but I might have to switch that up clearly because auto mode likes to get hit a lot. So first off, before we start, guys, I just want to do the usual thing that I always do, and that is to remind everybody to support the content creator program. If you have not done so, guys, click that support button. Get yourself 2 active codes currently going on right now, plus a 2,000 Essence Stone code coming very, very soon. It's already been submitted. It should be coming your way shortly as soon as it gets approved by Netmarble. Guys, I want to say a big shout out to my top 10 as usual. Thank you so much, guys, for being amazing supports, plus everyone else who has been supporting every season and all the new supporters who have joined recently. Remember, top one first place always gets $200 from me every single season. Top 150 gets a chance to have $150 if you join the Discord and join the giveaway. And every other supporter gets up to a $100 giveaway every single season as well. All you gotta do is hit that support button. It's in every description and every single video, guys, in the comments. Now, let's talk about the dilemma. Now, before I make this video, I have already recorded another video which will come out tomorrow, not today, and that is the best current teams in the meta. Now, I want to talk about this because I make these videos on a constant basis, right? We're always talking about the meta and the changes in the meta and everything that's going on. Now, this is a concern we've had quite some time with solo leveling Arise. The meta is constantly evolving. The meta is constantly changing. It's very hard to keep up. Whether you're a free-to-play player, whether you're a pay-to-win player, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, guys, it's very, very difficult to continuously keep up with the constant changing flow of meta. And this is something that's a little bit of concern because you look at every single tier list we've created, whether it's the weapons or if it's the characters, this is what's kind of been causing a problem, right? Like, for example, we had wind for quite some time as the meta, then we had, dark, and then we had fire, and then we had light, and then, it just continuously going. So right now, the big meta that's happening right now, the big shift in the actual setup and everything that we have to consider is the fact that we have a collab here that has probably the strongest nuke in the game for us, and we don't know what to do with her. Now, what I mean by this, okay, so we're all obviously referring to Fern, right? Fern is the collab I'm referring to here, and her DPS is absolutely atrociously strong. We've kind of done all the testing. We've kind of given you guys the full setup and the gear, and I think all of us content creators who do test have already come up with that solution, or at least with the same, same conclusion that we are all looking at Fern as the top DPS in the game. But for how long, right? For how long? And this has kind of been our dilemma that we've been facing. Do you summon for Fern? And if you do, how long will she last? How long will Fire be considered the top DPS spec in the game? Right? Especially, and this is concerning not only for free-to-play players. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about only free-to-play here because I know free-to-play has a bone to pick with the game coming out with so many big units and also so many big units coming out in the future. Now, we're talking about Laura coming out for Light. Light has not been relevant for quite some time, guys. Quite honestly, it has not been relevant for months, right? I mean, Thomas is still the top DPS for Light. He's a 6-month anniversary unit. Their breaker is even older, and their support is quite honestly an early release unit, unless you consider Akari their main support for you. That's not usually the norm, although she can definitely be a good support for them. She's not, Min is considered the support, or hell, even sometimes Cha with her buffs, and Cha's the first global unit we've ever had. So with Laura coming out and Light being irrelevant for so long, so what do? Do you summon for Laura and hopefully she doesn't replace the current meta, which is right now being Fire, or do you take a chance and hopefully that Fire can do well enough against hard mode WBL, and Laura is considered an afterthought. God damn it, I got hit enough too many times. Got the 30 again. I got to do a shielding unit here for this. So it's a little bit of a dilemma, right? And I know many of you guys are concerned with how and what to do, and I don't blame you. I've also had the same concern, and I made the choice to summon for Fern rather than Freerin. That might have been a mistake on my end. Who knows? I won't know until the next WOBL hard mode comes out, right? Or this one comes out. So it's a little bit of concern. I hope the devs understand where we're going with this. It'd be nice to have the ability to use some units. Now, this is a gotcha. Don't get me wrong, guys, right? This is not a rant video. I just more of a concerning video, right? Just more like just speaking the minds of many, and hoping that you guys agree with this. It is a gotcha. They're out to make money, right? That's the reason why, and the reason why they're raking it in. They are. Like, this collab is doing really, really well for them financially. They're making a lot of money. They were very generous by giving us Stark, but quite honestly, as good as Stark is, he is definitely replaceable Breaker. He's a fantastic unit to have for free. I still stand to the fact that these guys never meant to give a Stark for free. I think he was also a paid unit. I think they only gave a Stark for free as a PR move because they knew for a fact that if everybody, if people were getting Stark, they had to pay for all 3 of these units, it would have been a nightmare for them. Like, we would have had a lot of people complaining, quitting, etc. Right? And quite honestly, like, I feel like they've done a good job with this collab, but the concern is this. We went from wind meta back to fire meta. Now we have light coming out with Laura, and then we have Christopher Reed coming, which we don't even know what he's going to be. If he's going to be light again, well, guess what, guys? Light's back on top, right? And it's just going to continue this trend where the meta is constantly changing and units are still viable for some limited amount of time, but they're not viable in the content that matters. Right? So what's the best content currently in the game, in my opinion, that matters the most for most players? Well, it's always going to be, in my opinion, WOBL. Workshop or Brilliant Light. Why? Because it's the one that gives you guys something that's so unique. And I mean, let's consider POD, I guess, in this as well. It's very fresh in POD right now in terms of skins that no one else offers, right? And those hard mode skins and those titles and those icons, honestly, are probably the most coveted thing people really fight for. If we do another top 1000, there are 3 skins. They need to do a couple different changes. Number one, the meta needs to be considered both ways. And I think this is something that, I'm very surprised that they haven't adopted, where the meta should have been like, you know what, if you summon for light, if you summon for fire, you have a chance of both being viable. Right? Remember Deimos, for example? We all remember how much light suffered there. Well, I hope that doesn't become the same issue, because if we all summon for Fern, or if we all summon for Freeman, or we have Wet Cha, and our light team's not up to snuff, for example, I hope it's not like, hey, let's punish them by making light the main one because Laura and Christopher Reed might be light, for example, and every other element will not be worthwhile going for, even though they just summoned for all these units. Now again, this is a concern not for only free to play. I'm literally talking about all players, whether you're pay to win or not. It becomes unsustainable, right? So Dev, I hope you hear this, because an example of how many people were upset and how many people quit because they thought it was unfair. And I quite wholeheartedly agree that it was a very unfair way of creating a mechanic in a game that caused a massive divide and many people quitting. So if Christopher Reed is light and Laura is light, and the next WOBL is going to be fire, dark, and light, for example, I hope the people that summon for Sang Il Huan, I hope the people that summon for, Christopher Reed, and for those people who summon for Freerin and Fern have an equal chance to make it across the board. Now, with that being said, chances are it won't happen, guys. The constant change in meta is very, very daunting and scary, and will continue to be in this game, I feel like, unless we have our voices heard. And if you are somebody who is struggling with this and having a hard time understanding who to summon for, you're not the only one. At this point, it's just a guessing game, right? It's just a guessing game. Fern came out on top right now as the top DPS. That may last literally 2 patches. 1 or 2. Christopher Reed is probably going to come out. If he's a DPS, we'll probably blow her out of the water, or may not. We'll see, right? But the main concern is not just the DPS themselves. It's just the constant change of elements and making one element more superior than another, even though all 3 elements should be viable when all 3 elements are available to be used in the Workshop for Brilliant Light, Guild Boss. It doesn't matter. So a little bit more, I think, viability all across the board would be nice. That's all I'm asking for. I don't think that's asking for too much. If you guys agree, let me know in the comment section. For those who are wondering what to summon for, Fern or Freerin, I get this question asked all the time. We've done the testing. Both are very, very powerful units. One serves one purpose, the other one serves 2 purposes. So Freerin, in my opinion, is the better overall unit as a whole because of the buffs and the DPS that she brings. But if you're looking for raw power, you're not going to beat anybody in the roster, I'd even say, against Fern. Fern is by far right now the best DPS in the game. So there you guys have it. Hopefully, guys, if you do summon for either of these units, you're doing it because you want the units, you want the collab, you enjoy the units. You're not doing it to think ahead and say, hey, these units are what you need in order to get the next WOBL done. Yes, Fern does melt the boss right now in Valtaire, but hard mode, that may change with Laura coming out, and maybe light will go back on top. So keep that in the back of your minds, guys. I'm sorry to report this the way it is, but it has to be said. The meta is constantly changing, and it's always changing based on what's coming out, and it's the only money scheme, money grabbing mechanic these devs have. Overall, they do really well in this game. The game is very free to play friendly still, but unfortunately, it's starting to become more and more daunting for people to know what to pull because of all these collabs and units dropping, and of course, the constant meta change. All right, guys, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys in the next video. Remember, the top meta changing teams is coming out tomorrow. Yes, that's right. We have a new one because that's how quick it changes. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.